First, I wanted to give a shout out to LaMothe. This guy was the gaming book author of the 90s and early 2000s, or the editor of the early 2000s. And he was so awesome that I read his book and I tried to follow along something, and I was a beginner, so I decided to skip the intro, which had some important parts. Long story short, the guy called me himself and helped me get going, and it's became a career. So if you watch this, thanks, Andre. Yeah, cool to talk to you again. But aside from that, let's see. What was I doing? No, I'm kidding. Game loop. All right. So, props to Andre LaMothe. He's actually the inspiration for the next bit of wisdom, which is the game engine, the game loop. I want to say should loosely, but I still try to code by the standard. Not rely on code for changing levels. Anything that is in the design should be editable externally, because in a project the designer will have to change the asset, maybe even modify the level. So if you want him to get rid of a corridor or a graphic inside of it, you don't want him to have to go into the code and change the asset, because he can't read the code for one thing. It's C++ probably, or has C++ in it. Even if you are using any other language, C++ is very often included with it. So I'm just saying that because it's not an easy language to read if you're not familiar. So your engine should be this thing that just runs, it drives the game, but the game is a bunch of external data, you could say. So with that in mind, you should structure your stuff kind of like I did model view controller earlier, so that the model is its own thing, and the way it renders its stuff on screen. So let's say you have a speed calculation for how fast your player should go. That should not be connected to the view at all, because you will want to run it on OpenGL one day and then another platform another day, and you will have to change that when you could have just structured it to where that didn't have to happen. So, I talked a little too fast. The loop itself, first you have to understand what a game is. And right now we have lots of casual games, so this definition doesn't completely apply, but usually it is an infinite loop, and the player is running around inside of it until something ends it, and usually they fall down something, or they win, or, I don't know, new challenger. So that loop basically is an infinite loop that tests whether or not your health goes down to 0, and then it ends, or it sees if you meet the win condition, and then it ends. So say you were trying to, well actually let's just do how to do it first. There's like 3 types of loops that everyone learns: for, do while, and this is repeat until if you're in basic. And so for a while, I think in do while was the only other one I can remember. Alright, and you just give it an impossible condition, like while 1. It'll never be false, so it repeats forever. Before your game loop, you have an initialization phase, and that basically sets up your player and all the objects in the level. During the loop, it actually just does the AI and the graphical rendering. It's usually handled not directly by the game logic, but so you render that, get the AI, get the input from the player, and then after the game loop, so it breaks. After it breaks, it tests whether it broke because you lost or won. And then it loads 1 of 2 different screens after that, usually, sometimes more. And it basically does that again and again and again. So you just have this simple loop. And the thing that makes you good is how you structure that loop and what's on the inside. So you need to get input from the player. You need to make all the objects that aren't the player do what they need to do, so usually AI. And then render it to the screen. Very often this is handled for you in the newer engines, but in the old ones you literally had to lock in the video and say, I have a video memory now, and then you put all your pictures on it, and then you unlocked it. And you also had to synchronize it, basically say how much time has passed, okay, don't do anything for a little while because I need this to be at like 33 frames per second. I don't need it to be any faster no matter what system it's running on, because all the systems are different. And then you also have to catch up if your systems are slower. So I'm going to try to keep this video closer to 5 minutes, which means I have to end it. But yes, the game loop is essentially how you structure a few certain things, and the best way to do it and get it is to do it over and over and over. So in the next video I'll be coding Pong, just like all the other tutorials on the internet, but hopefully this high level example gives you something to go from, that gets you something to get out of what I am teaching you versus just the random, which are awesome, but there's little kids teaching how to do Pong, so hopefully I'll give you more than that. Anyway, I'll let the video speak for itself. Have a good day.